Hello, we're studying from the Preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah from Baal HaSulam. In Kabbalah for the Student, this is on page 565. You can ask questions on Kabbalah TV. Relevant questions may be aired during the lesson. We're reading from page 565 in Kabbalah for the Student.
The Preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah is an article, a very important article, that when people used to come to Rabash, including me, we started from studying this. About 6 months I studied, during that 6 months I passed to Rabash, and there we studied tests and other things. But the preface was always there for beginners. It was the first article, the first material that through it you'd enter the wisdom of Kabbalah. And that's the name of the article, the Preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah. You can study any material to the wisdom of Kabbalah in depth. That's why it can be also for beginners, it could be for veterans, to people who know or not, for people who are in attainment, and for people who don't touch it yet. There's always a foundation that you can build upon. As many stories as each one is able to. So, let's begin.
Preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah, item 1. Rabbi Hananiah, son of Akashia, says, the Creator wished to cleanse Israel, hence He has given them plentiful Torah and mitzvot. As it is written, the Lord was pleased for His righteousness' sake, to make the teaching great and glorious.
Meaning, in order to purify the created beings which the Creator created, He created them with some coarseness, aviyut, and now we have to purify them for some need. So there is a means in order to reach that your purification, which is called Torah and mitzvot. It's some kind of means for it. That with it, the created beings can come from the aviyut He created them with to purity. I guess in this process of purification, except for attaining that purification, you also attain the process itself and understand what the means itself is called Torah and mitzvot, why the Creator created them with that aviyut, why they need to do some work in order to use this device called Torah and mitzvot that is destined for it, through it to reach purity. And he continues. And it is known that purity, from the word purification, as our sages said, the mitzvot were only given for the purification of Israel, meaning the mitzvot is the means in order to purify, to cleanse someone called Israel. We must understand the cleansing which we achieve through Torah and mitzvot. And what is the aviyut, the coarseness within us, which we should cleanse using the Torah and mitzvot? Meaning there's an obligation to purify ourselves from aviyut. What is that? What is the purification we have to attain? What is Torah and mitzvot? How does it work on us in order to purify us? What do we attain by being pure? Since we have already discussed it in my book, Panim Meirot, and the study of the 10 Sfirot, I shall briefly why does he say that? We already talked about it. Because the preface is one of the 4 introductions to the book of Zohar, and which he wrote that are after all the previous books he read. I shall briefly repeat it, that the thought of creation was to delight the creatures, in according to his abundant generosity. Meaning the thought of creation is to do good, to bring pleasure to his created beings. That has to be for us the certain that this is nature. A great desire to crave, to receive his abundance was imprinted in the souls. Who are they? The souls. Not humans, not anything else. The soul. The soul is the vessel in order that we need to attain through Torah and mitzvot in order to purify a certain aviyut in us. And then what we attain will be called a soul, and the soul will be worthy in receiving that abundance that the Creator created. From here, for this reason, the great desire and craving to receive his abundance was imprinted in the souls, meaning that craving and desire is in the souls. Because the will to receive is the kli, the vessel, for the measure of the pleasure and abundance. Since the measure of the strength of the will to receive the abundance precisely corresponds to the measure of the pleasure of delight in the abundance. Meaning, the size of the vessel determines the size of the fulfillment. The intensity of the vessel, with all the discernments in it, determine the intensity and discernments in the fulfillment. And they are so connected that they are indivisible, except in what they relate to. The pleasure is related to the abundance, what comes from the Creator, and the great desire to receive the abundance is related to the receiving creature. So we have a very clear division into those two parts, Creator and created being. The pleasure comes from the Creator, the will to receive has to develop within the created being. He has to receive certain forms, a certain purification, and in according to his size and purity, he gets a greater and greater, more exalted fulfillment. These two necessarily, the fulfilling and the desire, extend from the Creator, because he is before everything. It is necessary, came in the thought of creation. However, they should be divided in the above-mentioned manner. The abundance comes from his essence, extending existence from existence, and the will to receive included in there is the root of the creatures. This means that he is the root of initiation, that is emergence, existence from absence, since there is certainly no form of will to receive in his essence, meaning the innovation was coming out of this source and becoming a created being. Hence, it is considered that the above-mentioned will to receive is the whole substance of creation from the beginning to end, the will to receive. Thus, all the creatures, all their innumerable instances and conducts that have appeared and will appear are but measures and various denominations of the will to receive. All that exists in those creatures, that is, all that is received in the will to receive imprinted in them, extends from his essence, existence from existence, and is not at all a new creation, since it is not new at all. Rather, it extends from his endless existence from existence. What do we see here? There's one root for everything, called Creator. From him, two discernments come out. One is the will to receive that develops from the root, and also in that desire which develops starts a new discernment called the freedom of that desire, that in something it can determine the changes it goes through. And those innovations that in the will to receive that keep renewing are called the created beings. And those innovations that renew in that will to receive on behalf of the created being, in order to purify himself, to bring himself closer to the Creator, they are called a soul, in a general name. And the purpose of creation, to bring the will to receive to such a development that it will develop to such an extent that it will be able to resemble all the abundance that comes to it from the Creator. We have three things. One is the will to receive that develops. Two is the abundance that is waiting for the will to receive to fulfill it. And three is the means that the created being receives from the Creator in order to develop himself in the desired way. This means it's called Torah and Mitzvot. Questions? There really is nothing to ask, okay? Yes, Shlomo. We can read it again if you want.
I want to ask about these renewals of the will to receive.
What is it written? We don't ask.
No, it's this is what brought the final state of the will to receive. Yeah, it's also in the thought of creation.
Everything is in the thought of creation. Niv, read it again, please.
Item 1. Rabbi ibn Hananiah, son of Akashia, says, the Creator wished to cleanse Israel, hence He has given them plentiful Torah and Mitzvot. As it is written, the Lord was pleased for His righteousness' sake to make the teaching great and glorious.
That's why He wants to purify Israel, to bring them to that state, to show them that for them He made the Torah.
It is known that cleansing is derived from the Hebrew word purifying. It is, as our sages said, the mitzvot were only given for the purification of Israel.
So there is a means called Torah and Mitzvot that with that means, we reach some purity. That the Creator created us with Aviut, and with the Torah and Mitzvot, we have to purify ourselves.
And we must understand this cleansing which we achieve through Torah and Mitzvot. And what is the Aviut, thickness within us, which we should cleanse using Torah and Mitzvot? Since we've already discussed
all these things, we have to understand, attain, define, and know that we're working with them. We have nothing else but Aviut, and with Torah and Mitzvot we purify that Aviut and reach purity. That's our purpose. Because probably in this pure vessel, what we attain is called the purpose of creation.
Since we've already discussed it in my book Panim Meirot and in the study of the 10 Sfirot, I shall briefly reiterate that the thought of creation was to delight the creatures, in accordance with His abundant generosity. For this reason, a great desire and craving to receive His abundance was imprinted in the souls.
Meaning, the purpose of creation is to bring good to its created beings, but in order to bring that good, those created beings have to be pure. And the Creator created them in coarseness and gave them a certain instrument called Torah and Mitzvot, that with it they can purify themselves. According to the measure of their purity, they receive what He prepared for them.
This is so because the will to receive is the kli for the measure of pleasure in the abundance. Since the measure and strength of the will to receive the abundance precisely corresponds to the measure of pleasure and delight in the abundance.
Meaning the vessel determines what kind of fulfillment will fill it, in what magnitude, in what intensity, in which qualities, and it all is determined by the vessel. So the Creator who created the vessel with coarseness and gave it an ability, an opportunity to purify itself, so by this the vessel can determine what form of fulfillment the vessel, the created being, wants to receive, that he will have it, he can choose it and do it. Then he'll need to choose the measure of Torah and Mitzvot, the means, more or less, in order to purify itself and bring himself to the form of purification a certain extent, in order to fill itself. And the fulfillment he gets will also be as a proof that he's reached the correct purification. Keep going.
And they are so connected that they are indivisible, except in what they relate to. The pleasure is related to the abundance, and the great desire to receive the abundance is related to the receiving creature.
Meaning they're so connected, they're so dependent on one another, the measure of purification in the vessel and the form of fulfillment in the vessel, that you can't divide the two, only in their root. But when they are in the vessel, you can't tell the difference between them. Because the light that fills the vessel receiving the light, they become in such a state that the light fills the vessel both as one. That is called dvikut, equivalence, that you can really tell the difference between one relates to the root of creation and one to the root of the Creator only. But when they are together, tied together, cascade down together, to such an extent that you can divide it, only the root they come from. Keep going.
These two necessarily extend from the Creator.
Since we relate one to the created being and one to the creature, but there's a root of everything, which is the Creator, and from him even the vessel comes.
And necessarily came in the thought of creation. However, they should be divided in the above-mentioned manner. The abundance comes from his essence, extending existence from existence.
That by this, the Creator actually fills himself in the vessel. Not the pleasure that came from him, the attitude that came from him. This is maybe what the vessel feels in all kinds of states. But actually, the abundance that is revealed in the Kli is the Creator himself.
And the will to receive included there is the root of the creatures. This means that it is the root of initiation, that is, emergence from existence from absence.
That's what the Creator, the part that is revealing, we're calling him Bole. Come and see that in our vessel we attain, and according to our values we can see, and not that it's him himself. We call him Atzmuto, But what we attain is called Creator, Boreh.
This, hence, it is considered that the above-mentioned will to receive is the whole substance of creation from beginning to end. Thus, all the creatures, all their innumerable instances and conducts that have appeared and that will appear, are but measures and various denominations of the will to receive. All that exists in those creatures, that is, all that is received in the will to receive, imprinted in them, extends from his essence, existence from existence. It is not at all a new creation, since it is not new at all. Rather, it extends from his endlessness, existence from existence.
Questions?
About how the abundance comes existence from existence. The Creator himself is abundance.
We say existence from existence, that everything in its own right. Existence from existence means that there's no innovation. That he extends from what has already been. That's it. Now, what are you saying?
The Creator himself is abundance. What is something that that is abundance?
No, we have to understand the abundance that we feel in the vessel. The Creator is the root that we attain in the vessel too, and is atzmuto that we don't attain. All those differences we will learn about, but every word points to something. Yeah.
He also talks about pleasure felt in this world.
I don't know what this world is.
Say that a person drinks tea and enjoys the tea.
Yeah, also this pleasure obviously comes from the Creator.
How can it be that in the same carrier there's something that is the Creator and a part that is not the Creator?
Creator is the source, and the pleasure is revealed from it. The abundance that is revealed is called the light. There's a very small light that is destined for the will to receive, which is in a degree called this world, in order to give the created beings the ability to attain something, some livelihood in order to exist. And from that we exist. A small little spark that is revealed on the degree of this world, and in this way bringing livelihood to all of the vessels. More? Yeah.
Question from the Jerusalem group. What is the connection there is between the Kli and the light?
The vessel is the will to receive. And according to the will to receive that's being revealed, the light fills that vessel, that will to receive. And if there won't be a will to receive, there won't be the light that will be revealed in there. Because the desire reveals the fulfillment. Who will reveal the pleasure if not a deficiency? The desire is a deficiency. When it appears and there is a pleasure, then the pleasure appears in the desire. The desire can appear without a pleasure, and then it suffers to the extent that the fulfillment fills the desire. The desire enjoys itself. The desire is a deficiency. More? Yes, Gilad. You need to ask maybe also not for yourself, but what you think that people who will study will ask, or people that are studying.
Yeah, exactly about that, about the right attitude to studying pticha, because he starts from the desire of the Creator and begins to go from above downwards. How do we relate to it as students?
I would ask 50 questions about what we just read. You aren't asking, so that's what I'm going upon.
What
can I add for myself? Yes, Moshe.
Why do Kabbalists differentiate Torah and mitzvot? It sounds like mitzvot kind of includes the Torah.
No, completely not. Torah is the light that reforms. The light in general, there's one, the force of bestowal. That force of bestowal that appears performs all kinds of actions. If you want to change your desire in a certain way towards from receiving to bestowing, then you, in that upper light, perform that action. That you have a deficiency, a desire to change from the will to receive, the essence of that desire to bestow, meaning that I want to enjoy something, so I want to enjoy in that something that it will be about giving pleasure to someone. So here I need to change my desire, that it won't remain in the same form as it was, but that it'll be towards bestowal. Towards bestowal is the Creator. He bestows. So I need to receive an influence on my will to receive, that it will change in somewhat towards the Creator. Meaning I invite in a certain way a change in me. As if I'm writing an invitation. I want, instead of receiving for myself 10 kilos of pleasure, I want to receive 5 kilos of pleasure, and the other 5 I want to give to you. So I decide that, and I turn to the Creator, to the light, to the source, and ask it to make a change in me. He created the desire in me to enjoy 10 kilos. I'm asking Him to make 5 of it to bring pleasure to you. So the light performs that action. That's it. He comes and performs that action in me. So there's the light, called Torah, Torah of light, and there's a mitzvah, meaning a commandment that the Creator gave for us to reach that purification, that all our desire will come to bestow, and the light that performs that action in me, it's called that it performs a mitzvah. So there's Torah, and there's a mitzvah. Torah is the upper force that can perform the changes in the desire. The mitzvah is the actual change in the desire that it changed. So it's not just two things, but they come from different sources. The Torah comes from above, the mitzvah comes from below, in the created being. More? Yes, Chanoch. You can scrutinize everything here, because the preface, you can learn everything from it.
It's written here that to the extent of the size and the intensity of the will to receive, so is the pleasure in the abundance. When he writes about the intensity and size of the will to receive, he's talking about a will to receive corrected with intention to bestow.
Even not also in our world, there's a child who is lazy, doesn't move, everything's okay, doesn't want anything. We are worried. How could it be that if this small desire didn't attain anything in life, what do we want for him? Well, let him live like this. No. We say no. He has to want more. He has to learn from others. Why? You give him more knowledge, it's more pain, or he'll want more and more and see that he's lacking. What's good in that? We still see that the purpose of creation is to enjoy it, to enjoy the Creator in a true way, not like we have, but that's the purpose of creation. That's why we are concerned that children will want more, that they won't be sufficient with a bit, even if he breaks something and searches for something. That's the way, that's the path, the development of the desire. And there's a development that comes from nature, only by nature. That's our beastly development, instincts, and there's a development of the desire that comes from the environment, which is the development in this world that we attain, social development, and here we're really concerned to send kids to all kinds of activities and all the media and everything. It's all to advance the generations. And there's a development from the light that we invited, and it develops us, but it doesn't develop us according to the desire in us, but according to the desire in it. His desire is to bestow, so he builds in us also that same desire to bestow. Yeah.
Meaning that's what's written, and what we read now in item 1 talks about all the discernments or forms that you talk about now, not just in order to bestow. So he's not talking about the spiritual world in the meantime.
Also spirituality and also corporeality.
Because between corporeality and spirituality there's a difference, and the difference is that the will to receive can no longer serve as a kli.
It's still will to receive, it's the same will to receive that comes from the same source, just that we don't correct it, we don't increase it to pleasures that come directly from the Creator. The difference between corporeality and spirituality, that in spirituality you enjoy the Creator, and in corporeality you enjoy your beast.
Okay, I'll try again. He starts and says here that also after he dealt with it in his book, Panim Meirot, and the study of the 10 Sefirot, and he repeats it now. And in the study of the 10 Sefirot, as far as I know, it says very explicitly that the will to receive is already ruled out from receiving pleasure.
Spirituality starts by the will to receive being flawed in its natural way, and we start working with it in a corrected form. First, a correction with Torah, that a change takes place in the will to receive, called mitzvah, and then in that desire which is corrected in order to bestow, we start researching the Creator, entering contact with Him.
And this is the desire that he's talking about here, right? Not a different desire. Desire corrected in the intention to bestow. Because we're talking about the lack here, if I understand.
Yes, and read it a few times, you'll see that he's speaking about both. Yeah. He writes that the will to receive is included there. Where does he mean?
Included in the abundance that comes from the Creator. The will to receive is included there. It begins to evolve through the abundance that it's in, by the abundance that it's in. And it begins to gradually become more distinct, more and more apparent, like the four phases of direct light. Because the light is always there, and it's always everywhere and infinite. I, the Lord, do not change. The Creator doesn't change. The light doesn't change. But the will to receive is changing. And what we're talking about is the changes of the will to receive. That's what's important to us.
But the next sentence, you write that in his essence, there is no will to receive.
Yes. So we need to see the difference. There is his essence, which is the general source of everything, which is above the created beings and above everything. And from that comes the abundance. And the abundance that spreads then creates the desire. And so both the desire and the abundance were created from his essence, and the desire continuously develops by being in the abundance. The abundance that comes from the Creator doesn't change. It doesn't change by itself. But the desire, however, is a small black point in the abundance. That's how they come from his essence. And then the desire evolves. That is when we discuss the four phases of direct light.
In that expansion from the Atzmuto, where does the Creator come in there? The Bole.
The Creator, usually, here we're talking about all kinds of names and terms that are perhaps undefined yet. But the Creator is, Bore is come and see, Bore. That when the will to receive takes on changes by Torah and mitzvot and becomes compatible for the abundance, meaning begins to recognize him, his qualities, what does he want, how does he relate to me, how do I relate to him, etc. And all those actions that are mutual, that are reciprocal between the light and the desire, give the desire a sense of the light called the Creator. He created me. He made me. He brought me to that point so that I feel it like this or that. And all those terms together are called Creator for me. Just like mother. What is mother? She's everything to me. I was born from her. I was raised by her. I'm in her hands now. And I speak to her. And that's my Creator. That's what I discover. Yes.
So the combination between the will to receive and the abundance, that's the Creator. All those relationships between the will to receive and the abundance, that's the Creator.
No, relations are relations. The Creator is the concept that is drawn in the will to receive towards its source, the Creator.
But what is the source? Because he has no attainment in the essence.
In his essence, there's never attainment.
Right.
So, as much as we attain from the Creator, it's called, from the light, it's called Creator. It's according to the qualities of the desire. That's why it's called come and see.
And this abundance, what is it?
The abundance is the light that he receives, but there is abundance and there is Creator. There's a few other things too. But what he attains, he can divide to the fulfillment that fills him up and gives him pleasure. The source of fulfillment, where does it come from? To what extent of equivalence of form does he receive? And that's where you have the direct light, returning light, inner light, surrounding light, and the 5 degrees of direct light and 5 degrees of returning light. We'll see that. But practically, the Creator is what I attain, and there's a difference. The light that I attain usually talks about the measure of pleasure. The Creator we talk about is the relation of the upper one towards the lower one attained by the lower one. From the text, you'll better understand the definitions. Besides, there are many definitions in Or HaBa'ir. You can also read there, and maybe, but these definitions are actually very broad, very broad. He wrote 100 pages, 800 pages, only about the letter, only with the letter Aleph. So, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, it doesn't work that way. As much as Kabbalists want, and they do want to give us these concise, brief definitions so that we don't go wrong, but it's impossible. Because it's like they're trying to put us in a mechanical understanding in order to communicate spiritual sensation. It doesn't work. They want to, but it does. How is it possible?
What does it mean that the Creator desires so he desires to bring the created beings, all of creation, to a predetermined state. Then this future form already exists in him. For him, for us, for who? Wanting his righteousness.
What is for his righteousness? Righteousness meaning that the creature comes to the degree of the Creator because there is no more fulfilling state.
What's the Oviyut in us?
The Oviyut in us is the will to receive that differentiates between us and the Creator. And it becomes revealed each time to the extent that the created being can cleanse it, purify it, and bring about that connection. So then Oviyut, the coarseness, actually becomes the place of connection.
If I heard correctly, about the foundation, you talked about the soul.
Soul means, usually, and again, there are many definitions. So be a bit more, knowledgeable about what we're talking about. You can't just use words from our world to communicate everything. Soul means the will to receive that has tzimtzum, masach, zivug daka, and it receives a measure of the upper light according to its qualities. The light and the kli become one. So the same kli that reveals the light in it connects with the light, becomes as one with the light, and this is called neshama. So, to differentiate between the kli of the soul and the light of the soul, and both of them are called soul. Why? Because until the final correction, we cannot attain more than the light of neshama. Chaya and Yechida are two lights that we attain only in the final correction. So in the final correction, the vessel will not be called neshama. It will be called Yechida.
He started that the Creator wanted to purify Israel, and then He gave them Torah and mitzvot.
Whoever has a will to receive, to reach this identification and equivalence with the Creator, to bestow to Him, receive from Him and bestow in return, this is called identification. As He is, so am I. So this person is called Yashar Kel, straight to the Creator. Meaning the Creator has a desire to bring the created being to His form in the final state, and the created being also has an understanding and a desire to reach that state. So they become partners. And whoever wants to work with the Creator in that way is called Yashar Kel, Israel.
And the others he doesn't want to purify?
There's no one to turn to. If there's still no will to receive, in which an intention arises, then he's not called Israel yet. He's considered an animal, because he only has the desire to sustain himself. So it all depends on the level of desire in the created being. Yes, who's there?
What does the will to receive develop? What does the material develop? Rav, for us, matter and will to receive is the same thing. What develops them? The light. The light is what works. Except for the light, there's nothing. Nothing that works. Through the will to receive, we can activate a desire, and then we invite the light, and it works. We have no way to bestow upon anything except to raise man, as we say. That we want to resemble the bestower. That is called Mei Nukbin. Our Malchut, the will to receive, to raise it to Binah. The will to bestow. That's why it's called Man, Mei Nukbin. It's the only action that the created being can do. You can say, no, but we need to connect, we need to hit it. Lie. If we truly want to do something, only through the Creator to do it between us, to build a connection between us, to do such actions between us. No action what we think we're doing ourselves, if we don't pass it through the Creator, it is a false action. It doesn't bring anything good. And we see we got nothing. We see 10 years, another 10 years go by until we start hearing that every action can only be through the Creator, because He has the force to change. And I have only the force to ask. And through the others in the tent to ask correctly, then I attain the light. Because through the light I have to reach Keter. I'm the Malchut, so I have to connect through all my friends that are one Partzuf. And from the source, from the Keter, we have to ask for the light to work on us and do everything. Doesn't matter what. In that way, we need to work. And it's worth to not forget about this. Okay? Okay, Amnon. Ask also as teachers. What could you ask? What could the students ask? Existence from absence comes from existence from existence. Baal HaSulam writes, all this extended from his essence, existence from existence, and not from the innovation creation. What is that? Rav, the will to receive. In Atzmuto, in its essence, there is no will to receive. We don't know what his essence is, but we say that in Atzmuto, everything came from there. That the upper one himself, called Atzmuto, without any connection to the created beings. Afterwards, from Atzmuto comes some branch that belongs to the created beings, and that branch starts to create, to build, to develop the created beings. Yeah. He wrote that the will to receive came with the abundance, from the abundance. Rav, yes. So the question again, what is the new creation? What was there before? Rav, the will to receive, which is in the abundance, expanding from his essence, we get the abundance, that in that abundance there's already the will to receive. If there wasn't a will to receive, the abundance wouldn't have come out from Atzmuto. So what comes before what? Love. His essence is first. And afterwards the desire that he takes the abundance out of Atzmuto. So the will to receive comes before the love. His action supposedly obligates the abundance to come out of Atzmuto. If you're a philosopher, so Mushi wanted. So it turns out that the mitzvot also can be done by man, only through the Creator.
Each and every correction comes to us only through first raising man, then there's a descent of mad, meaning the light that comes and makes changes. This is called the light that reforms. And to the extent that it reforms us, that it makes us similar to the Creator, good that does good, then it's called making a mitzvah, that it made a mitzvah. On my part, the mitzvah is only asking for correction. On the Creator's part, performing the correction. Surely, all is done by the Creator. And that's also what we always say. Everything is done by the Creator.
So yes. What is the 613 mitzvot?
It's the 613 actions that the light is doing on the will to receive in order to bring the will to receive gradually in small portions and also in levels, increasing levels, in order to bestow. You have 125 degrees in each of which has a certain will to receive and a correction, and a greater will to receive and a greater correction. Just like in a small child, you have a few kilograms of flesh, and then it's corrected in a certain way, and then it grows, and then it's educated in another way, and so on. And so, both in the adult and in the child, you have the same 10 sfirot, or 613 parts, which have to undergo corrections. So the difference is on the level of oviyut, coarseness, thickness, meaning how much of the difference between the desire and the Creator becomes apparent. On the 20th degree, it appears as similar to the Creator says by 20%, then 50%, then 100%. Meaning, it grows, and accordingly we see how opposite it is to the Creator. One who is greater than his friend, his inclination is greater than himself, and accordingly he demands more light that will correct him. And when he attains the equivalence of form by the light that reforms, it becomes more righteous, meaning in the sense of justifying the Creator.
If I understand correctly, so a person has 613 requests every time in a different aviyut?
This we will understand later. It's not exactly that, because the light knows how it's doing the action. A person usually only raises man. He doesn't know, in the state that he's in, what exactly are the actions the light should do. The light that comes down on him and makes the actions of correction already does that. The Creator finishes it for me. The oviyut, what is the oviyut? It's the gap between me and the Creator. How much am I found between the desired state and the existing state? And then I ask to bridge that gap. I want adhesion, tefekut, meaning to achieve equivalence of form with the Creator. So I ask, and in my request, through the group, through the connection that I ask for, it only appears through connection in the group. And so I ask, and the light comes through the group as well, completes me with the group, and the group benefits from that completion.
So this action called a request, it's a mitzvah. The light that comes is called Torah.
Right. And I always do this in the group because all the corrections happen in the 10. It's impossible otherwise. It only appears that way. 10 meaning the soul. 10 is the soul. Yes, Gilad.
What's existence from absence?
There's existence from existence, existence from absence. Existence from existence meaning from his essence. The light comes from his essence. Existence from nothing, from no existence. That's the desire that has been formed according to the Creator's decision to create a desire so as to create beings that will come to adhesion with him.
Where does a created being determine such an attitude of existence from existence and existence from absence?
This is what Kabbalists attained, that there is an eternal, perfect, complete root called his essence, and it exists as existence from existence, and we do not attain it. We cannot say anything about its reality, but there is a root that we come from, that it created existence from absence. Let's say that you wouldn't discover, besides being born from your mother, you couldn't see anything further. So your mother then becomes existence from existence. That is your primordial root. And you're born from it. And you are existence from absence, in the sense that you weren't there before, and now you were created.
And what does it mean on our behalf in the work?
That we only relate to what's happening as existence from existence. That's what we need to change. Existence from absence, however, is where we take the strength and program of correction from.
Can I ask, let's say, the attitude towards the 10? What's existence from existence and what's existence from absence?
The relation from the 10 is towards us. It's existence from existence because it's a given, because the light that came from his essence created the will to receive through 10 phases, 5 phases, but it's actually 10. Broken down to 10. And so we need to treat these phases as existing in front of us, before us. We result from them. If not for these phases, there would be no creation. The last phase is the Malchut, and we all come from that Malchut, meaning before us, prior to us, are 9 discernments. We are the 10th, and then we need to cause that whole system to become in equivalence with the light, with the Creator.
And what's existence from absence in that state?
Existence from absence means that this given comes from the Creator's decision. If, say, he would decide to do something otherwise, he would do it otherwise. But to begin with, he created that law of light and desire, that the light creates the desire and shapes the desire in 5 steps.
But he says that there's no innovation.
There is no renewal and innovation afterwards whatsoever. After that was determined in the keter of the 4 phases. We don't know anything beyond that, but afterwards there is nothing new.
When we ask for the 10, when we want the friends to advance, that's not an innovation? It's not considered an innovation?
There is no innovation. We only discover the gap between the desired state and existence state, and we ask for equivalence of that. Yes, Shai.
It sounds that his essence created the created being and the light in parallel.
No. His essence, meaning the light existed in it. The created being, however, is new. Where does it say that? even though they both they too necessarily extend.
Everything received in the will to receive that's imprinted in them, it all comes from his essence, existence from existence, and nothing from the innovation of existence from absence.
Everything that is received in the desire comes from existence from existence. The desire itself, existence from absence. Two things altogether, two parts in creation. Yes.
So it starts from Atzmuto, existence from existence is the light, and existence from absence is the created being.
Right. But if there would be no existence from absence, then the light wouldn't emerge from his essence. Because of the desire that is existence from absence, the light extends and begins to exist outside his essence. So creation already comes from lack and abundance. Yes, Sakok.
He writes that from the will to receive comes the root of the created beings, and the root of the innovation. What does that mean?
The root of the created beings, or the root of the new being, is the will to receive. But afterwards, there are other roots that develop, which is in order to bestow, to resemble the Creator. When the will to receive attains its root, then from below upwards, it finds all the steps that created it and wants to resemble them and receives an addition to its will to receive. And that's how the will to receive was built, to change by the abundance. It's very unique. It's a creation in itself. Why don't we just enjoy and that's it? Like the still degree, the vegetative degree, the animate degree, simply enjoys. Why does it respond? Why does it demand something beyond? Meaning the lack that the will to receive has develops it. So what's happening here? The desire, which is a desire, a lack, as if could be a desire to be filled with what it's filled and or not, or something else. It's not like an existing cup. The light develops the desire, so the desire becomes dependent on the light. The more the light develops it and it senses the pleasure, it also senses itself. So the more desire I have, the more pleasure I have, and vice versa. These differences that already are embedded in the four phases of direct light, they instill in the desire an understanding that I have to grow myself, that I'll be better off with a greater desire. That's on the condition of the direct light. But that's how it develops in the meantime and becomes dependent on this development.
What does it mean, the created beings?
It depends on where it says that. You can't just take a word. Just understand. The wisdom of Kabbalah is just to mention to us some discernments that we don't actually recognize. So, like yesterday, everyone tried to just catch me saying a specific word. It doesn't work that way. Also, we can talk about the same words, but I feel it in one way and you feel it in another way. That's a big question. What's the difference there?
Here he writes, the will to receive included there,
yes, in the abundance, yeah,
is the root of the creatures.
Because when it emerged from the root, yet it emerged as the root of the created beings, and it develops by the light, and the light develops it, and they are intertwined, and through its relation to the light it develops, the will to receive, and that's the root of the future created being. Yes.
And he has that as the root of the innovation.
Right. Because it's not in the light, didn't exist in the light. There is no change in the light in general. The only changes in the light that we're talking about are what the will to receive discovers, this way or that way, but it's not that there is any change in the light. When the desire senses it according to the desire. And that's why there's different kinds of light. Are there different kinds of lights? There's just one light, and different lights show are coming from different desires, different deficiencies, according to the size and the type of the desire.
So what's the innovation he's speaking about?
What renewal? To read the sentence.
The root of the will to receive is the root of the initiation.
There was no such thing in creation before. The will to receive, the deficiency, it wasn't there because his essence exists by itself with no deficiency. Also, the light from his essence extends because there is a lack, and the lack as if sucks from his essence the light. And so then the light that becomes defined, allocated for creation, fulfills the desire and begins to work with the desire. What the Creator did, this is what's called Boré, Baal, outside, meaning he created a point of deficiency, something outside of itself, opposite to itself, that point of desire, and then that point began to evolve by the light, and the light develops the desire, and then the desire evolves through phase 1, 2, 3, 4, Tzimtzum, Masach, etc. All coming from that point of desire that was formed in the light of Ein Sof.
So, can we organize the terms light, abundance, and creator?
Above all is his essence. After the decision of his essence, where there's already levels to create creation, then the black point, which is the future created being, was shaped. The will to receive, existence from absence that didn't exist before. This will to receive that has evolved, and this already belongs to the root, to the keter. The 4 phases of direct light is the upper part of keter. Then it began to evolve, and it is the second part of keter, the lower part, in terms of the p'chinat shoresh of the 4 phases of direct light. And then, by that, the upper light begins to receive a new kind of shape, a new character, because the lack of light defines it differently. How? I lack. I lack what? I'm different from the light of Ein Sof. I'm different, and that difference is what I wish to nullify, to cancel. And that's the lack that now begins to evolve. How? If I will fulfill myself with the whole light of Ein Sof. And now we're talking as if the created being has a lack and he does that, but it's all done by the light. So, from that black point, a desire is developed. So the desire wants to receive more. The first phase is Chokhmah, P'china Aleph, that it just wants to receive. That's the beginning of the created being. And it wants to receive, yes. Does it want to receive? No, the light created it like that, sure. But it's still discussing her, that aspect. Just like we don't talk about the embryo as having a sense of self, but it is still, we're talking about it. So same things, we'll study the 4 phases. So what comes first, desire or light? Light is existence from absence, meaning no, light is existence from existence. Sorry. Watch over me. I may get confused. So, the light doesn't. The root of the light doesn't. The light doesn't change. It just comes from the same root. But by the existence from absence, the lack that didn't exist before, the light comes out of his essence to fulfill that lack. So where does the desire come in? What creates the desire? Where does it come from? It comes from light. The light was created from nothing, from absence. The Creator decided that it wants a desire to be created, and it was created. That's why it's called existence from absence, from nothing, because there was nothing before. All of a sudden there was a desire. I don't know, I wasn't there. I'm telling you seriously, that's what's written, that's what you attain, and you don't attain further. Maybe at some point we will. So in terms of the development, what to say? That after his essence there is desire and light. Yes. And the desire is on the one hand built and shaped by the light, but then afterwards the desire starts determining. After Tzimtzum Aleph, let's say, basically the desire determines the kind of expansion of the light. Yes, Shai.
That's the point that's confusing, because it seems that there was a tzmuto, and then he created that black point, and afterwards the light came, existence from existence.
The Creator decided. There are many things here. I don't know. Why do you need this? Who decides and who's the operator? There's a difference. All of what we call his essence is eventually a thought that everything emerges from. So from that thought comes the thought of creation, that there will be created beings and to benefit the created beings. And still there's nothing. But from that program, the will to receive was formed, which is the future creation, and that it needs to be developed. So that it's exactly compatible, qualified for all the actions and shape that the Creator plans. So there's thought, and then there's action. Like he explains to us, he'll explain it. The person who wants to build a home, he has a plan first. Don't be so, it's all in one place. Yes.
About the Torah and mitzvot, if I read this to somebody who doesn't know our studies, where's the source that he speaks about the light that's correcting, that the mitzvah is correcting a desire? Where's that written?
So many places that I don't even know which one to point to. A person who wants to carry out the mitzvah carries it out by the Torah. Torah is light, and it's written. The Torah means light. And commandment, mitzvah, means what a person needs to carry out, which begins from a desire that we raise in order to receive the light, the force that enables the action in order to bestow. And that's what the Creator demands from us, to be in equivalence with Him, in connection with Him, in bestowal to Him. And that's why we receive the light that reforms. That's called the light of Torah. And what does it mean to reform? To good, to become as good, the good that does good. And what is that? Through love of the created beings, through the love of the Creator. That's the meaning of carrying out Torah and mitzvot. What is carried out in this world, it's good. I'll tell you why. Because it gives you a constant kind of reason to think about the Creator. That's all. That in each and every different thing, think, you bless, you make this blessing or that blessing for drinking, for this, for that. In everything you do, you have an opportunity to say a blessing or do some action. Why? It gives you an opportunity to go back to the inner action. And that's why the sages establish these things.
So you can explain that it's correct?
I'm not going to explain to anyone, and I recommend you to explain to yourself only. You still lack a lot of explanation, first to yourself. Otherwise, you'll ruin everything, both us, with your explanation, and that will be to your own detriment. Don't think of others. Think about yourself. Yes, give it to them again, yeah.
We're understanding on us the definitions.
We are asking about ourselves, but when we ask, we can think of what campus students asked or somewhere, and then we'll go through the same questions as well and clarify them.
So my question, when we read this, to actually implement this now, how do we renew
There's
our
nothing
desire?
to realize here. No, this you do, but not based on what we read here, the first item in the article. He doesn't tell you anything about it here. From this you understand that there is his essence, and from him come two things. One, directly from his essence, is the light, and secondly is their the new creation, which is existence from absence, the desire. And both develop until they come to our degree.
So all the questions we're asking now, what does it do to us?
The general understanding of where it all comes from. And that you ultimately need to reach equivalence of form with the light, with bestowal.
And by reading, how do I reach equivalence of form?
By the light that reforms, called Torah, which changes you in the direction of bestowal, of giving, of going above your ego, which means to perform mitzvot, meaning your desire is comprised of 613 parts, so correcting all of it means performing the 613 mitzvot, corrections, changes.
How do we think about this? How do we adhere to this?
How do we stick to this? Through the 10.
Thank you.
And this is one of the introductions to the book of Zohar, the preface to the wisdom of Kabbalah. At the end of the first volume of the book of Zohar, it says what are 613 deposits and 613 counsels, meaning by the 613 mitzvot that we perform, we come to, in order to bestow, to equivalence of form with the Creator. Why? Because our partzuf, our desire, which is the spiritual partzuf, is divided to 613 parts. 248 refer to Galgal Ta'anaim, 365 Achap. When we correct them, we come to a complete Kli that works in order to bestow. That's what the Zohar describes with regards to carrying out Torah and mitzvot. By the light that reforms, we make corrections in the will to receive. Yes, Dudi.
In the campus, they'll ask right away how the Torah and mitzvot that are written here are connected to the Torah and mitzvot in our nation. In the nation, in the meantime, we see that people
carry out mechanical kind of Torah and mitzvot. The different actions they do in their hands and legs, not in their will to receive, towards connection. They call that Torah and mitzvot. Why? Because this is what's called the Torah and mitzvot of the exile, meaning outside the correction of the soul. When we don't draw the light because we have no connection with it, we're outside the correction process. That's why it's called exile. It's called outside the land of Israel, meaning the desire that is straight towards the Creator. We don't correct the desire in order to bestow. And that's why all our corrections are actually external corrections in action. In our external actions, hands, legs, and mouth. And every child can do that.
And then we add the internal part, or we exchange it with the external.
When we come to internality, we either stop or don't, but it doesn't matter. The main thing is the interior. But one thing doesn't need to cancel the other. The external may be a reference, a reminder of the internal, but usually people who start doing internal actions are immersed in them in a way that it's difficult for them, unless they're educated in a religious manner from birth, then it's hard for them to continue carrying out the externality because they're completely focused on internality. That's a known phenomenon among Kabbalah students.
Without the external Torah and mitzvot, can we attain the internal Torah and mitzvot?
Yes, like Baal HaSulam writes, there are many quotes about that. And not only him. Yes. In our definitions, Torah is a light that reforms. Mitzvot is correcting the will to receive. Equivalence of form is to attain the form of bestowal of the Creator, etc. But there is no need to, there's no obligation to do this or that. What we talk about is to carry out Torah and mitzvot internally, even though we have no objection to those who carry them out externally. And we have all the conditions here for whoever wants to keep them can keep them. But there's no obligation, because there's no coercion in spirituality. Just like we don't coerce each other to do things in corporeality, we don't do so in spirituality, and it goes the same. It goes in both ways. We study, and from the study, everyone takes on whatever he wants and how much he wants on himself. And this is called educate the boy according to his own path. Meaning, wherever he is drawn, as long as it is towards bestowal, towards the Torah. Whatever part of the Torah he takes on, inner or outer, he will take on, and it's according to his life cycle and his root of the soul, and we don't go into that. It's not our business. That has to do with the person himself. You need to just teach the person, educate the person, and he needs to take decisions. Instead of the person, no one can determine his attitude to the Creator, his relation to the Creator. Yes, Eran.
In the introduction to pticha, Baal HaSulam says the Torah is the simple light extending from his essence. The mitzvah is the kli where the light expands in. A question that arises a lot is, what is this thing that, let's say I study an article, I feel confused, sometimes a resistance or some drawing to it, and when I study pticha, there's like this inner quiet, everything straightens out, there's an order in everything.
Because Preface, pticha, organizes everything in a theoretical system, in a didactic way. The articles are written in a way that they also aim to confuse the person. It is written that one should bless for the bad as he blesses for the good. I would say even more than the good, because the evil and the darkness is a preparation for the new correction to come every time. The articles are written in a way to take us through both plus and minus, and put us in between those forces in an inner struggle and scrutiny that advances us. Here, however, he asks and he answers, and he teaches us through to a logical flow. And also, pticha is for beginners. In tests, for instance, it's a big problem. That's a big problem. I'm saying that, you need to look at Rabash's books, how he studied. In every detail he wrote, this was because of that, and later on he would delete it and said incorrect. Write another answer. And then he wrote delete it again, scratch it and says incorrect, and write another thing. And and this is the path of attainment. And also, it doesn't matter as long as much as I studied with him, hours on end, separately with him in private. He said in some places, why do you need that for? What do you need this for? We saw that the wisdom itself, mechanically, if you don't receive it from within, from your vessels, it's worthless. Even pray to forget it. You understand? Even to that extent. And for us, it's like a university. The more you know, the more you add commentary, the more details. That's incorrect. The approach to the Torah is, it's not the wise one who learns, only according to the correction, to the vessels. And accordingly, everyone will be given what he needs. Everyone is under providence. So that's how we need to try to... I think that this pticha, preface, will rearrange us very well. More questions? Oh boy, what will I do? Yes, Michael.
The will to receive is the biggest or smallest in the beginning of creation?
The smallest. If we're talking about, the smallest, let's say.
So how can he say that, where does he write it? That he puts in the souls his intensity and essence of that he...
It has to evolve, it has to become apparent, show itself. You have everything in a drop of semen. And afterwards, an entire human being, say 150 kilograms and 2 meters high, develops. But it's all in the drop of semen. We don't know how to research it so well yet. But if we could, you would see everything. You could grow a human being in that sense by yourself. All the information is there.
So if everything is there,
only the light is missing. The light inflates. It's like the dough that swells. In short, that's what the light does. So instead of... You have 10 sfirot there in that one point, but from 10 to another 10, another 10, another 10, and each sfira divides to its individual sfirot, etc., and that's how it grows. And it's just like in nature, there's nothing new. The main thing is the reshimo. And therefore, we see that people who come to us is because of the reshimo that awakens. Sometimes it awakens in an external way, and sometimes it keeps going. Okay, guys. Okay. We still have our friends also. I thought we at least do item 2.
The campus students usually are trying to understand what Baal HaSulam writes, that all of creation from beginning to end is a will to receive. And we give them a lot of tasks about it. It's not easy to digest this.
You're asking what?
How can we explain this in a way that they can digest it? That to observe reality as Baal HaSulam.
I don't know. I wouldn't do that. Surely you need to explain several times that the whole of creation is a will to receive. Still vegetative, animate, human. What we explain in our world. Today they discover that it's all vibrations. That matter is vibrations. And light is vibrations. It's all vibrations. And so there is one foundation that everything evolved from. So explain to them through various examples. But not more than that. I wouldn't fall into all of these arguments. We don't need that. They don't need it either. It's not smart that from beginning to end, the will to receive. What do they understand about beginning and end and any of that? The main thing is that the whole of creation is a will to enjoy, because the Creator is a will to give pleasure. And that's it. That's the two parts, the two components there are. And we need to install an outer form to our will to enjoy that will convert the will to enjoy that remains within to a form of a will to give pleasure. And so the created being with his garment, which is called Masach and Or Chozer, resembles the Creator, and that makes the Creator apparent. So then the host and the guest, he'll give this example soon, that's how they behave. The created being has to be dressed in order to convert his will to receive in order to bestow. So he uses the will to receive, but that's what he uses. That's his power, that's his nature. He only receives from the Creator an ability to use it differently. When I use the will to give of the host and my will to receive, in order to make my will to receive compatible to the will to bestow of the host. So I'm working with both desires. By that I better know the host, what he wants to give to me and in what way I enjoy, because I want to be in that same form. So it turns out that his will to bestow and my will to receive and the corrections that I take on receiving from him and the bestowal that I give in return, all of that is in order to come to dvekut, adhesion. And adhesion is the goal. And the fact that it includes all the sorts of things from me to him and him to me, etc., that doesn't matter. The dvekut that we attain covers it all. All right. I have here Moscow.
In the campus, we try to give examples for the preface to be more understood. So should we just go with Baal HaSulam or explain it through the system? What's our task in the campus?
Our task in campus courses, I don't know what course is the one where you give them preface or a short kind of preface, or you yourselves turn this course into some 10 meetings or something like that. I don't know. But what they need mostly, I don't think that for beginners, we can talk about man's spiritual work, and that will bring about a great confusion, and also they won't understand anything of the structure. I think the main thing for them is to see the structure, that we have His essence, the world of Ein Sof, the development of the 5 worlds, that we are here below, and on the way there is the creation of the soul, the shattering of the soul, and we have to raise these pieces upwards from the world to our world, to Asiyah, Yetzirah, Briah, Atzilut, and that's how it's all completed, meaning pticha, preface, but in a short, in a concise kind of way. That's what I think should be done, and the drawings of Baal HaSulam somehow need to be clear to them. Somehow. There are some details that are can't even be understood if you're a beginner. That's for sure. But so that's what I think needs to be done. Meaning, try to make a concise kind of preface, because to go through all of it is half a year, I don't know. It's not simple. I don't recommend to start with that. But the structure of the world's Patzufim and Sfirot, and where we are, just graphically, where we are, that's Ein Sof, here is where we are, and that's, in a way that they can see it on a drawing board and point the finger. That's good, because when that stands in front of the person, he finds himself better, he orients himself. It starts giving him some orientation, so that he doesn't lose his bearings and where he is. Otherwise, it's like a baby that is lost, and that's not good.
He writes that the Creator wanted to purify Israel, so He gave them Torah and mitzvot. We know that the Creator's desire should be good to its created beings.
Yes.
What does it mean that He wanted to purify Israel? Does He have 2 desires? What does He want from Israel?
To do good to them. And that is possible only to the extent that there is a deficiency for that benefit that He wants to give. If He gives people the deficiency for what He wants to give, it won't be their deficiency. They will not be able to enjoy it. The deficiency needs to come from the created being himself. That the created being will want it. If we take you now, and we start injecting you with, I don't know, whatever, Niv, what? What is it? All right, opera. Yeah. Let's say we put you in an opera show with 4 hours of, 4 hours of that music. I see that, that will take you to Gmar Tikkun right away.
If it's Italian, maybe. But my question...
No, my question is that it is impossible to enjoy without a deficiency that comes from the created being himself. The created being needs to own the deficiency. That he owns the deficiency, that he came up with it, that he shaped it, that he wants to fulfill it. And he knows in all of the intricacies of that desire, it's very complex, and he wants to fill it to the brim. In that show, in that concert, you'll see people who enjoy the very specific subtleties of the music and the notes and all of the performance and everything. There's 200 instruments and 200 actors or whatever. All those things. And you sit there miserably. Someone does this boom all of a sudden, and you don't understand what it is. So you don't have the lack for it. You need to have the lack, the deficiency. And that's the goal. That's what the Creator doesn't have. He needs a created being that will want it by himself. Oh, now you, at home, think about how you would create a creature who wants something by himself. Wants what? What the Creator wants him to want. But he has to want it by himself. That's what you want from your children. You tell them, why don't you want this? Look how great this is, that is. And your child tells you, I just want to go play ball. So how do you educate the created being to want to bestow? Not something else. It's opposite to the will to receive. Why is it opposite? Because then when the will to receive acquires it and shapes it, it actually comes from him. Because the Creator creates a will to receive. In order to bestow, comes from the created being. The created being decides about it. Now there's some foundations, conditions given for it, but he does it.
Because he adds something, there's something strange here that he says there's like a combination, an addition of desires. You have to take something called Israel and...
You can say to cleanse, to join, litzaref, but it actually means to cleanse, litzof.
But there's not an individual deficiencies. There's like a structure called Israel that is a combination of, so that has to be together.
No, we're talking about a simple deficiency here. The deficiency that wants to enjoy, and that's when it's directed at itself, and when it's directed at the Creator, it's called directly to the Creator, straight to the Creator. Yesharkel. That's it. I don't think you need to try to come out of that and explain how the soul divides to pieces, and you're going to confuse people to begin with. A good teacher knows the exact portion, like the dose that you need to give to a baby. What to give and how much of it to give. And if you're asking these things and you intend to teach the pticha like this, like what I'm hearing, then you cannot be teachers. You can't. Your students will be miserable. All right, now New York.
If the thought of creation was to give pleasure to the created beings, why isn't the abundance enough, and you also have to discover the source of the abundance?
We don't receive the source of the abundance. We learn from the actions of the Creator, we learn about Him. Through your actions, we know you. That's how we can know it. That's the problem, that we cannot receive like the still vegetative and animate, that we just enjoy the fulfillment. But also, to receive the fulfillment, we want to recognize the giver of the fulfillment. And that's what's important to us. This is called the human education. There's some of that in animals too, that from which they learn who we are. But in the human, through the fulfillment and the form of fulfillment and how it comes, all those things lead us to attainment of the Creator. Because we don't attain the Creator if not through come and see, meaning how we receive the fulfillment that comes from Him. Okay, other than New York, we have here Haifa.
Good morning, Rav. The question is, it says to purify and be rewarded. Also about the Creator, we say it's nature, 86 in Gematria, so just accept it. Me as a veteran, I'm willing to go above reason, but as...
I don't know what you're talking about. We're not, we didn't study this. Don't ask about what we didn't learn. I don't know. I don't know these wisdoms. If that's the way you hear from me, then I'm very sorry. You have a hearing problem. We're only talking about Boré, come and see, because we explained that this is how we reach Him, we attain Him, through the cleansing, the purification. Only looking at the words written here. That's it. If you're being smart, I'm not with you. Too bad I let you ask a question. Kiev.
Two questions. One, what is that action, creating the will to receive, in the Creator? What is it, an essential change in the Creator? How in energy of bestowal can an opposite quality appear? That's not clear.
I don't have anything to explain about it here because nothing's written about it here, and I don't want to go into that. You can imagine whatever you want here, how this goes in, how that goes out. What are we talking about? What philosophies are we talking about? We need to learn what Kabbalists wrote so that it helps us to reach the purpose as fast as possible. And then we will recognize it and know it. And you are beginning to use your intellect to go into things that you don't even understand a word here. We're talking about a place where there's no vessels at all. Why are you drawn to all sorts of wisdoms? Because we can talk about any possible thing here? Okay, yes, Maurice.
The first question of if I try to purify and ask for correction from Atzmuto, it's only good. He created the Creator that has good and bad to teach us how to work with the lights and raising man. And that's a system that with it we reach the attainment of the quality of bestowal.
Right, 100%. Everything is correct. Yes, Peter.
In the
last sentence, there's an expression, the desire to receive that doesn't exist in the Creator brings pleasure to the created being. So it sounds like the will to receive was created for the created being, but it's not the same thing. It's like something we use in the end.
I don't understand that twist. I'll repeat. The Creator's desire from His nature, which is goodness, what we can understand and know. We're not talking about His essence. He wanted to do good to the created beings, so He created beings with a will to receive the abundance. But that is insufficient. In order to benefit the created beings, He has to make the creature who will want to enjoy. And also, to enjoy what? Not what it receives, because whatever he receives will be limited. Rather, the created being, the Creator wants him to enjoy an unbounded, unlimited state, the most perfect there is. And that is the status of the Creator himself. How to bring the created being to be like the Creator? That means to take him to adhesion. So they're in partnership. So the created being is like another part of the Creator, like a woman and her husband, that they both become one. That's what the Creator decides and does. Now, From here, we can start talking, because that belongs to us. Above that, we don't know. So the Creator has to build a will to receive. And that will to receive has to use its desire so as to become a partner with the Creator in everything. So they can bestow to each other. So they come to mutual love, to connection, to coupling, to adhesion. But for that, this created being has to have a desire of its own towards the Creator, towards connection, the connection. Desire of his own, not from the Creator, even though it's seemingly coming from the Creator, but it's not the same desire. It's not the same desire that is suitable for being with the Creator. The desire to be in adhesion with the Creator must emerge, must be born in the created being himself. And that is what's happening. In order to bestow stems from the created being. The created being develops it against the will to receive that comes from the Creator. Like in our life, what's love? Love means that I am loved the way I am. I'm bad, I'm horrible, I'm this and that. It doesn't matter. Like a mother who loves a baby. That's the example for love. If someone loves me because I'm good to him, that's not love. That's buying someone, paying someone through a good attitude, a good relation. What do we want? Everyone wants that. To be loved the way I am. Just like a mother loves her baby. That's love, unconditional love. Now, how to reach that? That's why the Creator did these things. There's a will to receive opposite to Him on the one hand, and on the other hand, we develop a will to bestow, and that's how we come to love. Akoka, is it clear? All right. Moscow, New York, Kiev, Peter, they all spoke. Beersheba we had. All right, Jerusalem, how can we not give them?
How can there be, from the thought of creation, to do good to its created beings, came suffering to the world?
I don't know what you're saying. The thought of creation to benefit the created beings doesn't talk about our created beings, these little beasts. We're talking about the created being is someone who's going for connection with the Creator. The will to receive, the Creator hates the will to receive. Created the will to receive only for us to build the will to bestow above it. So if you're in a will to receive and you suffer, of course you suffer. Where does it come from? From the Creator. He didn't promise you any pleasure in the will to receive. He doesn't owe that to you, on the contrary. He wants you to come to a state where you say, thank you for creating me in a will to receive where I suffer. That suffering helps me build a will to bestow to reach love to you. Franks. Francophones. Yes.
Hello, Av. There's a thought of creation and the thought of the created being, I think, and have to reach connection with the Creator. Is connection with the Creator, will it come through with thought?
Will the connection with the Creator come through a thought? That, well, sure. Of course, it's all clarified in thought, but then there needs to be an action. That a person, through the 10, will connect, will shape his desire and connection with the 10 in such a way that he comes to dvekut. Love is the complete form of connection that we sense in the 10. Otherwise, you cannot sense anything spiritual. Something spiritual cannot be felt in a single desire. Only a collection of desires that are connected. The upper light shapes them as a parzuf, and then through the parzuf you discover the Creator, You discover his relation to you, the ten's relation to him. It all appears inside the Potzuf. There's nothing outside of the Potzuf.
What does the thought of creation mean? The Creator thinks, I think, what is it?
Thought of creation means the plan, the program. That's the thought of creation. In the thought of creation lies the whole process of creation from beginning to end, how we come to the complete adhesion. All right? Good. Now we have now... No, I don't want to... More questions? What?
Just
let it go. Don't tell me what to do. Wherever I see two people, I can't let all of them ask. There's dozens of groups like that. Item 2. As we have said, the will to receive is innately included in the thought of creation with all its denominations, along with the great abundance he had planned to delight them and impart to them. And know that these are the all, light and kli that we discern in the upper worlds. They necessarily come tied together and cascade the light and kli, or the will to bestow and the deficiency, and cascade together degree by degree. Cascade meaning they depart, they draw far away. What does that mean? We need to understand. But there is a certain distancing from the will to bestow of the Creator. And to the extent to which the degrees descend from the light of His face and depart from Him is the extent of the materialization of the will to receive contained in the abundance. Meaning, the farther they are, the coarser they are. The farther they are from the source. And then the will to receive becomes lesser and coarser. And we could also state the opposite. To the extent that the will to receive in the abundance materializes, so it descends for degree by degree. Meaning, you can't say whether the will to receive becomes coarser and therefore it necessarily drifts away from the Creator, or the Creator pushes him away and that's why it becomes coarser. Understood? And it really doesn't matter. You can look at it this way or that way. He knows why he writes that. So that we understand that this is what's happening. Whether we do it and bestow to the Creator, or the Creator does so that we bestow to Him. It's the one and the same. It descends degree by degree to the lowest of all places, where the will to receive is fully materialized, meaning this place is called the world of Asiya. The will to receive is considered man's body. That's how it's discerned. It's not our body, that's how it's called. It's the desire. It's not some biological tissues. And the abundance one receives is considered the measure of vitality in that body. Meaning we have a certain kli whose desire is the lowest, the coarsest, the most materialized, and then it's already filled with some very coarse kind of abundance. It is similar in other creatures in this world. Thus, the only difference between the upper worlds and this world is that as long as the will to receive is included in his abundance has not fully materialized, it is regarded as being in the spiritual worlds, above this world. And once the will to receive has fully materialized, it is regarded as being in this world. So again, it's either the materialization that causes the descent all the way down to this world, or the departure causes it to materialize and descend to this world. Whether it's you look at it this way or that way, in the meantime, we don't determine what's the cause and what's the consequence. Either the Creator pushes it and then it materializes, or it materializes and therefore it is drifting away from the light. What, Michael? So following the previous question, if the will to receive is pushed away and it departs and it becomes greater, and he says here that the measure of abundance is according to the Kli, so it receives more pleasure to the extent that it drifts away more.
I don't know. It doesn't say here that it becomes greater.
No, because you said when I asked before if the will to receive is the smallest in the beginning of creation, you said yes, and then it starts growing and growing. Meaning the abundance develops the will to receive.
Yeah.
So
that's only in the Dalet Pchinot Dor Yashar, 4 phases of direct light. Later it changes.
Here he talks about after the 4 phases.
He's talking about it in general, but you have to understand that he's limited. What can he tell you here?
So just to understand, where is the border here? There's a certain development of the will to receive in size.
Down to this world, as long as the will to receive develops, as development is that it becomes more and more distant from the Creator. Distant meaning what? You're asking, is it becoming greater or smaller? Regarding the receiving of the abundance, it becomes smaller. On the way it goes through tzimtzum, restrictions, masachim, screens, shvirot, shatterings, alamot, concealments. In this world, it's after 5 concealments that, sure, it reached the worst possible state called this world. Less than this world is only our world.
Could we say that after the restriction, the scale kind of changes, and he starts to see that he's diminishing somewhat as he's distancing, and as much as he can attain the abundance?
Yes. Okay. Further, he wants to say, and probably you'll be asked about this, that the will to receive, this is how it unfolds and reaches a state where it becomes matter, substance. Listen up. Having nothing to do with the upper worlds. And the fact is, that man that wants to attain spirituality, he can be in the same body like we are, in an animal body, and he can cut off or attach some leg or foot or, I don't know, from some other person off the street. And as a result, his attainments of spirituality won't be flawed, right? You replace his hand, it's the right hand. It's bestowal, right? The left hand, that's reception. You always have to go in the right and not in the left. How's that? Because our body is an animal and it has nothing to do with spiritual attainment. Later we'll gradually study what's the use that we can start working with our desire toward the Creator from ourselves. Why is that important? You remember we talked about love, that I have to be with my desire to love, otherwise it won't be called love. It's then, it was bought by money. He created in me the desire to love him. So we have to be disconnected from the entire upper system in this world and from it to begin the path. And then it really means that I see the Creator from afar.
So how is this all connected to me, meaning what we're learning here?
That you're now, as a beast in this world, you're unconnected to spirituality, to all the worlds, from Atzmuto and down to this world. You have nothing. You're beneath the world that he's talking about. You're in this world, a place that's disconnected from everything in your world. And from this point on, you have to develop your desire to love the Creator, like he loves you. If you have a point in the heart that awakens you toward that, then you can reach the beginning of the way, and you start feeling that there is something, that there is someone who's calling you. Yeah.
So all that we're reading here does not have to do with our life?
Again?
The question that repeats itself and the difficulty we always stumble upon is naturally to try to associate or attribute what's being read here in the text to my life. So how is, if there's a disconnect between what we're reading now about and my life, then how is it connected? What we're reading here, is it connected to my life or not?
It isn't.
So why am I learning this?
You're learning it in order from here to reach the real desire, where you want to start loving the Creator, so that at least in one point you'll be connected with Him in love, and that's called that you're in Ibul. We say that life begins with love. So it's not talking about love where you make love, but it's talking about this love, this inclination to come back to the Creator. The very first point of the Ibur starts with that. This is the true meaning of life. Life comes from love.
So this study develops in me that love? What does it develop in me, this study? How does it lead me to that love?
If you, according to the point that you have, that after the entire cascading, the point it remains after the cascading, but it developed all throughout these things, but it itself remains, and then it as if falls into your corporeal desire that's beneath all the desires, this corporeal desire that you have in this world, just as a beast. What's the difference between man and beast? That in the desire awakens the connection, a point, an attitude toward the Creator. Really, from end to end, that the Creator is at the top of the line and you're beneath the entire line. So, if you have some kind of a feeling that awakens toward the Creator, it means that in you began the awakening of the spiritual gene. And it's like what? That you were supposed like 10, 12, I don't know. You felt that you have a certain inclination towards some girl. You remember that? So that's how it is with everyone. Where does it come from? I don't know. But suddenly, how come? I played with all the boys and girls, and suddenly I paid attention to this one girl. Where did this come from? Why? I don't know. This is how it is in a person when he's no longer of young age, but at a certain, how to put it, for some reason that is brought upon him, he starts feeling, I want to know what's the meaning of life, what is its purpose, and suddenly comes upon him an opportunity. He sees that in some place, Niv Navon is teaching the introduction, the preface to the wisdom of Kabbalah, and then he says, okay, this is for me. And so he comes.
So how should I relate correctly with that unrelentless attitude to relate everything to what's happening in my life? All the time, that question repeats itself.
From that point where you began to connect to the essence of life, through this point, the rest of life isn't important. Up to the point where you're given choice, where you have to strengthen the spiritual life over the corporeal one, that your corporeal life It's just in order for you to exist as long as you cross the machsom, you enter the spiritual life. This is the goal.
I'm talking about that tendency and that relentless attitude of students to associate everything that they learn to their daily lives.
In my daily life, I have to function like everyone else does, and to make myself on purpose like everyone, really a robot. And next to that, I have to develop my spiritual life. To get used to this, accustomed to this dual kind of life.
That's a general approach that's understood. I'm asking about during the time that we study. I'm learning. I'll give you an example. We learn now that light, creature. The light, just like that. Is it the tea that I'm drinking? Is it connected to the light? Do I feel something from it? The creature, the desires, it's something that awakens in me.
If you awaken toward the meaning of life and you see that the wisdom of Kabbalah can explain it to you, then in you awakens a reshimo by the general light that shines upon you. Yeah. There's already a connection between the Creator and you through that light. That shines, and you feel that there's some kind of an enlivenment here, and you want to be fulfilled by it, to attain Him.
So through that vitality that's awakened in me, I'll attain what he's talking about here.
Yes.
How and what is the connection between I'm learning and that awakening?
The awakening is supposed to bring you to connection if you meet all the conditions. All right. Everything's clear.
No,
Vlad, quickly. Short question.
It's not clear, nevertheless, how a person with a very thin, delicate soul can develop a love for the Creator.
Bit by bit, gradually, through friends. Yes, Dudi.
I want to ask generally, to keep the study flow, can we do like a marathon of pticha where we study it every day?
I'm just thinking about our friends in the world, that they might not be able to study with us every day. For me, it's not important. If you want now, in the evening, in the morning. Me, I'm retired.
It would be very worthwhile to try to do this every day and to really grind this down, and really, because once or twice a week it'll disconnect and there will always be things. And
all right, good. We'll do it tomorrow too.
Another question. Throughout the day, how should we continue this throughout the day? How should we do something with this throughout the day? Because usually we try to look for our work from this as well.
I think that you should read the first and second items several times, compose questions, and put together answers to them. We'll examine the questions, how correct they are, and the answers correspondingly. And it's good that they will be added to the text. In the meantime, there's no place for sketches here because he's talking in general. Later, from the 4 pchinot and on, we will draw several sketches, even though the sketches, they really limit you. If you're looking or thinking of a sketch, then above, down, up and down, for you it's the few centimeters in one direction or another. Instead of that, it's more bestowing or more reception. Then, sketches is better for beginners if you're talking about campuses and so on. But if we're talking about you, I wouldn't like to put these things into a sketch because the sketch really narrows down the subject. It limits it to corporeality. when I draw a circle, then circle, you already have a circle in your mind. And all these things, even though the Kabbalists do use it, but they themselves, they're not limited by these forms. It's inside of them, in pchinot and emotions and their attitude, and therefore this is a problem. And I passed on these the sketches with the help of Alex Mizrahi and Ido and Shai Zamir, and they did tremendous work. And they prepared different things there, but I don't know if we should use it. We'll think about it over time. Just understand the idea. I want to talk about everything in terms of spiritual values and not in terms of the definitions that you have in a sketch. Okay. Yeah, Eran.
I understood that we started to study pticha now because you saw that there's, in Tree of Life, many friends that haven't been through this one time in an organized manner. I simply think...
I was amazed to discover it.
Now, if really the goal is to go through it in an organized way, pticha, and for friends to get like a straightened line, I'm not sure if those friends are here every day. I mean, it could be that these are friends that are making a great effort to come now on Sunday, also in the world, and here, and also on Friday. And if we do it every day, and when we get to second restriction there, they'll simply get lost, and then...
Well, Tzimtzum Bet, we'll see. There we can really start studying maybe twice a week. There it's already up to Tzimtzum Bet for us to at least know these things, the way they happen. If you do it just twice a week, the spirit of things can disappear. It won't be the same continuity. I understand what Duri's saying. So we'll do it that way. We'll see. Everything's in our hands. So tomorrow, it should be clear to everyone that this is what we're studying. If someone doesn't want to or can't, then you can always download it from the archive. I don't know. I don't think that it's such a big problem to take a lesson from the archive with a pencil and a notebook and to start seriously studying with the questions, with the answers, with the discernments, with everything, and to pass it through your feelings and hear it again maybe. I think that it's an excellent means. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Is there a clear definition of what a person needs to know? Let's say, like this and like this and like this. We need to know at the end of the study of pticha?
At the end of the studying of the pticha, of the preface, we have to understand it all. It's not written just so. There are plenty of things that we can add, and we can add them here and there. But if you'll go over this course, if you'll go through it, in general, you'll know the entire wisdom of Kabbalah. And it's possible that to this we'll also add the work of the Creator.
How can I know that now I know it good, like on the level of memory?
On the level of memory, you'll know that you know it well after you forget everything, and it'll remain just as a feeling. Yes.
Rav,
I wanted to recommend, we come here every Friday, the Point of the Heart students. We've taken a commitment on ourselves, and actually, somehow, this awakened our desire to study the pticha. So I understand that there's a desire of everyone to advance, but if it's possible to recommend that we come here on Fridays, we do this for a long time, and on Friday we'll get a kind of, a summary of what everyone went through from Sunday to Thursday. I think it's a little egoistically, but I'm doing this really for my friends who feel like they're advancing from coming here and incorporating with what's happening here. Because to sit at home and study, people don't do it. So maybe just on Friday, at the beginning of the lesson, do a summary of what everyone's been integrated in.
Why don't they do it? I used to go back from Bnei Brak to Rehovot, from the city of Bnei Brak to the city of Rehovot. I used to sit down immediately, and next to each word in Hebrew, I used to write what's the right way to pronounce it and its translation. I'd really invest in it, and for me, language is something that really I don't grasp it, and I was in that all the time. Try to stimulate each other for everyone to want it. The preface is something around which you can build the entire system, all the attainments, the entire structure, social structure, and to advance that way. I don't know what to do, but it seems to me that throughout the day, do you hear this? You have to go over it and try and compose questions and answers. And this way, this is what we'll do regarding each and every item, yeah. Like Baal HaSulam wrote questions and answers for Tess, we'll write questions and answers for the preface.
No.
Yeah.
Just to be more precise, the will to receive that emerges from the abundance in the first point, relative to the will to receive that is being materialized in the second. What's the qualitative difference between them?
I don't know. It's unrelated. It's related to the 4 ptichinot. Be careful to ask things that we didn't learn about. You're already in my notebook. Watch it. Shraga. It's just that I'm getting confused. Achikam, amikam.
Shraga is best.
Obviously. And I'm used to this name.
I wanted in the matter of what...
Shraga, it's from our literature.
Shraga is the relative that...
No. It says about the candle in our sources that from 2,000 years ago. It's not just some relative of yours.
I am not... I didn't take my name from there, but yeah.
Find the source.
This matter of the preface all of a sudden takes on a certain expansion in the topic of annulment, of ibur. All of a sudden, from 60 words a minute that maybe I'm capable of to do something, there he gives a light of 400 words. And I'm asking...
No, I have to ask. Can someone translate what he's saying? No.
I'll try.
In short.
In short, all of a sudden the preface takes on a certain expansion, and when he talks about the light that's operating on the kilim, and that their root is existence from absence, and the light that's operating on the kilim, there's also an opening on the pticha, on the preface, and such an expansion that I'm looking for the words. I'm truly efforting to find the words, and my question is...
This is something that you have to search for on the inside. Here you can talk about it, for a month without leaving it. But we can't do that. All the rest the person has to make up for it or supplement it by his inner scrutinies. That's how it goes. I'm sorry. This is how it is everywhere. A book isn't gonna make up for all of your spiritual actions.
But the thing is very pinpointed. If it's a scrutiny in the thought, I have no problem. I'm not looking for the words.
Oh, fine. What do you want to say? Last sentence.
I want to say he's talking about the matter of mitzvot. And in the group, we're going to a certain point where the group becomes the intermediate kli.
You're saying that this is not keeping the mitzvot, that the 10 is the place for keeping all the 613 mitzvot?
I'm saying that the 10 itself receives the light, and I, in my integration with the 10, I am observing the light of the mitzvah.
What do you want to ask? The question.
The question is whether you can relate at last and close this corner. Because...
What? What exactly?
This corner where you can observe a mitzvah with the definition of the mitzvah is the 10.
Of course. The 10 is the structure. A 10 is the structure of reality. You don't see, you don't understand it. It's like you're shown in a microscope that this is a cell. That this is the source, the origin of life. What? It's some kind of a soup, something. You have a drop of soup there. You don't understand. The 10, when you start penetrating it, you open up the spiritual world, and then accordingly you see that what you're in now is an imaginary state, just in order for you to enter spirituality independently. That you develop yourself and reach equivalence of form with the Creator independently. And this entire life of yours is not taken into consideration as life. There's no recollection of it. No recollection. What you keep with your hands, legs, whatever you do, however you do it, it all does not exist. It's an imaginary world. And only from the 10 and on do you start living. And this is what you have left forever. This you have to decide. Do you want it or not? That's it. And this is what we're talking about.
Can I continue for a second?
Yes.
There's this law that says that there are two opposites and one person on the same topic, and the matter of the mitzvot in this world, which means that it's existing in two people.
I don't understand. Finally, what do you want?
I want to say that there's a perception that is opposite completely from this perception that I chose. I chose this perception that the 10 is that place of the perception of reality, of the observance of reality. And the question is whether at some point there will be peace between these two perceptions.
I don't know. I can't find it now. You know this too. Find it. First volume of the Zohar, after the introduction to the book of Zohar, which is the entire first volume.
Which is my beloved book.
Beloved book, very well. So there's an article there, Tariag 18 and Tariag Pkutin. You know it?
Yes.
So read what are the 613 deposits and 613 commandments.
Meaning that there is a way to make peace between these two perceptions.
I don't know what peace and war. For me, there's only one way. I want to correct my will to receive, for it to entirely be in bestowed toward Kucha Brichu, the Creator. And the entire reality exists only for that.
But that is also the root of the perception for those that...
I don't know. I'm not talking about that. I don't care about that. I'm talking only about those that came to me to study the wisdom of Kabbalah, and only. That's it. Do you understand that this is the reason for which I'm not allowing you to ask? Now, for 2.5 hours, you were sitting with your hand up every few minutes, and I did not allow you to ask why. At the end, okay, I respected you. But why? In order for you not to confuse us in the middle of the study with your perception.
I'm really sorry, but when Baal HaSulam says that he didn't find a vessel that keeps the wisdom like peace, I'm a dummy. I understand like the faith of sages that one should aspire, whether he studies Kabbalah or Gemara or or Shasin Poskim, I think that that's what...
Mister, I told you a long time ago. Maybe it doesn't suit you to study from me.
On the contrary.
There are many teachers, I'm telling you.
You said that the annulment that you taught us opened up 400 words a minute.
God help us. Be well. What did it say about Shraga?
Rashi says Shraga in purity is a candle that does not illuminate in the afternoon.
You hear that? Listen again. Shraga.
This is from Masechet Chulin, the Rashi commentary. Shraga in Tihara, a candle that does not illuminate in the afternoon.
So, what can you do? Mundane, then it's mundane.
About the task today, I heard that you said that we should read item 1 and item 2, write questions, and compose answers.
It's like in tests. You have questions and answers. Try here to compose questions and answers for item 1 and for the second item 2.
Is this something we should do personally or as a group, like friends write the question?
I don't know. It depends on the kind of connection that you have, how much time you have, and so on. But on a personal level, for sure. If you can do it on the group level, that's also good. But don't confuse yourselves. The main thing is to study. Study what it says here, and for you to have something left from it. You don't have to remember, but you have to feel. And less sketches. Less. If you have no choice, then sketch. And afterwards, if possible, to try and convert it into emotion. Above, up, down. Make a sketch, and it's clear to you what's going on, and then turn it upside down. Meaning confuse your geometries and delve in with your emotions. You understand what I want for you to have? Therefore, don't go for the sketches too much. I went for it, but this is when you were little, so I drew all these things. Today, it's not the same condition. If you want, there are thousands of different drawings in our archive. The friends found them, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll study gradually and reach such states where we will depict the Potzufim and we'll start explaining what's going on emotionally. Maybe. Like musicians. You look at their notes, then it looks like, I don't know, they drew bugs. And for a musician, he's crying. You look at him, what's wrong? Okay, so that's clear. Today we have a special day. Speak up.
We have today the World's Assembly of Friends. We're inviting all our friends in the world to unite, to connect, and to be together in the World Yeshivat Chaverim. Thank you to our TV viewers. Good day. The fundamentals to the wisdom of Kabbalah. The wisdom of the Kabbalah Alam is happy to invite you to acquaintance evenings as we're opening a fundamental course. Meetings will take place tomorrow, March 18, in Haifa, Or Akiva, Petach Tikva, and on Tuesday in Rishon LeZion. Entrance is 30 shekel and RSVP. Details and registration on the phone 1-700-509-209 or on KabCOIL. We will conclude with that. Thank you and good day.
כולנו כאן כאיש אחד עומדים.
Узнать нам суждено, преодолев туман, где правда есть, а где пустой мираж. En la unión encontrarás conexión para triunfar. Open your eyes. Look up to the skies. 'Cause if your day feels like the night, I'll help you step into the light. Because together we can make the darkness bright.
אלפי שנים חזרנו לחיים, האור עולה מתוך החברים.
Теперь только вперед, сердца соединим, и мы достигнем нашей цели, слиться с ним. Juntos en unidad, la solución en tus manos está. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Look up to the skies. Look up to the skies. 'Cause if your day feels like the night, I'll help you step into the light. Because together we can make the darkness bright. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Look up to the skies. Look up to the skies. 'Cause if your day feels like the night, I'll help you step into